I'm Haley. Welcome to the whole podcast. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy the show. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Haley Korf. I am your vision impaired host, and we have a very special guest with us today. I'm going to pronounce your name wrong. I know it, but we have Kelly Narowski with us today.
Perfect.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes. All right. So we have a couple of topics that we want to go through. A little bit about travel and then ableism and a lot of different things. So stay tuned, okay? All right. So, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and your history and how you became such a strong advocate?
Sure. So I wasn't born with a physical disability,
Okay.
and I at the age of 25, sustained a severe spinal cord injury in a car crash
Mm.
and became a wheelchair user. And so I was a walking person for 25 years, and I've been rolling for 27. But when I was 25, I knew nothing about discrimination, at all. I'm from rural Missouri. I had a lot of social currency and didn't have to deal with any discrimination before then, let alone, significant physical challenges. But after sustaining the injury and, get the hospitalization and the rehab and relearning everything and adjustment, but I knew about the ADA. I'm what you call an ADA baby because I had my injury 8 years after the ADA had passed. So I noticed when things weren't accessible and I would speak up, and that's kind of how that started. And the disability advocacy has gone on, and there's a lot to talk about there. So um, I eventually was a travel agent after the injury occurred for 9 years, and I sort of fell into public speaking. Was doing it on a volunteer basis, and then the government insisted on paying me, and I was like, okay, I'm in the twilight zone, but okay. And um, so I spoke mainly about injury prevention, since my car crash was a result of split second decisions on the road, bad decisions.
Yeah.
So then, um, after I did safety for a while, um, I moved to Germany for 3 years and didn't work over there. Got my master's degree in disability studies, the concentration in disability law and policy. And I'd also, before I'd moved to Germany, had ADA coordinator certification. I acquired one through the University of Missouri and the Great Plains ADA Center. And I was just learning and learning and learning. I was actually taking courses for the ADA certification for fun.
Mhm.
And one of the leaders, after I had went to 4 conferences, said, you've got enough credits to just take the test and get certified. I'm like, oh, no, I didn't know that. So anyway, that's what I did. I just love disability law and policy and learning about disability rights. And so the reason I moved to Germany is because I was married to an army officer. And so the federal government stuck us in the middle of Germany. Um, then I went on, when we moved back, COVID happened. And so got another master's in psychology.
Oh my
So
goodness.
I switched my speaking. I don't just do injury prevention now. So I do disability law and policy, the disability element of diversity, which isn't talked about enough.
Mm-mm.
Talk about that. And I've just started getting into mental health disabilities, diving into that, because I do have bipolar disorder as well, which is highly stigmatized. And, I hid that for a long time, and I started talking about it 2 years ago finally. And so, been, you know, going there and advocating and trying to help reduce stigma by talking about it, by making it okay to talk about. So that's that's the gist of my advocacy journey. Excuse me.
Yeah. Um, that's quite an accomplishment. I don't think that I will ever reach as far as you have, but it's important to understand these things because things happen to us and we don't always have the terminology to express like what we've been through. And so I think it's really important the work that you're doing to help convey those terminologies to other people who might not know that they were being discriminated against.
Thank you so much for saying that. I feel like it's my job to
Mhm.
use my knowledge
Mhm.
to help out because so many people helped us out in the 60s, 70s, and 80s and fought for those rights. And so I do feel like it's something I'm supposed to do, that it's the right thing to do. And also, we all have different personality types, right? And for your listeners to know what the Enneagram is, I'm an 8 on the Enneagram, and that's the challenger. So I have no trouble speaking up if there's an ADA violation or if there's discrimination based on the Air Carrier Access Act or um, the 1988 Amendment to the Fair Housing Act or, one of our other disability rights laws. I have no trouble speaking up because of my personality type. And um, I'll go ahead and add, because I think this is important. The most important book I read in 2021 is called The Courage to be Disliked.
Hmm.
And it's written by 2 Japanese philosophers, and I don't wanna mess up their names, so,
That's okay.
but it was really important because it kind of reinforced my belief that do the best you can every day and adhere to your values and let the chips fall where they may. So, that's kind of my mantra. I'm gonna do what I think is right, and if it's unpopular, that's okay.
I resonate with that a lot. I think I'm not as bold as you are right off the bat, I would say, but if something really hits wrong, I'm like, okay, I do need to say something about this. You know what I mean? But it's taken me years to get there and to understand that I have to do my own thing. The chips are going to fall where they need to, and that's okay. But it's taken so long to get to that cuz for me with my disability, I was angry. I was so angry. I was like, why at this age, 16, 17, did I have to deal with that? And uh, I'm okay now, but there are some days where I'm like, I really wish I could just see this, you know?
It's
So,
totally understandable.
yeah.
I get it, and I didn't jump right into advocacy. I don't call other people a train wreck, but I was a train wreck after I sustained my spinal cord injury. In the first year and a half, I felt sorry for myself and
Yes.
didn't get anything accomplished. I had a very difficult adjustment period, mental health wise. And so I get it. And it took me a while. And started, what, how I started really advocating and speaking up is anger as well. I would show up at a restaurant and there would be a pile of snow on the curb cut.
Yes.
That's the first place I think that I called inside the manager and I said, somebody needs to shovel this because you're open to the public. You're open to the public. The accessible path of travel has to be accessible. You can't. So the manager was out there shoveling snow. That's the first one
I
of the
love
earliest
that.
ones I remember. With regard to discrimination, so right here at the whole person, I had the honor and the privilege. I didn't feel qualified at the time, but somebody thought I was. And I was asked to serve on the board of directors for the whole person, my local center of independent living at the time. So back in, I want to say 2003 through 2005, I served before I had to move out of the area. But your executive director and I were having a conversation that I'll never forget. And this is really, and it was an aha moment and it changed how I viewed things. I said to him, and I had been a wheelchair user for 5 years, 4 or 5 years. I never looked at ADA violations or anything like that as discrimination. I looked at discrimination against people with disabilities as like, we're not going to hire you because you have a disability, something like that. So I told him, I've actually never been discriminated against. And he said, well, when you go to a restaurant or store that has a step, that's discrimination. And I said, oh, I didn't know that. And I always looked at it differently after that. And it's complicated because once in a great while, a place cannot be made accessible.
Yeah.
Um, but it's rare. It's rare. So, and especially when there's one step, right? 100-year-old buildings, I've gotten the landlord. Actually, I'll just say it. I forced the landlords to get ramps in about a dozen 100-year-old buildings. So, because of one step, and
Yeah.
it can be done side ramped on a sidewalks wide enough. But anyway, I looked at things differently after I said that. I just wanted to share that that was right here. Not in this building, but your old building.
Hmm. I'm not as familiar with the old buildings. That's interesting. Huh. It's it's different when you're talking to other people who've been in the world of disabilities, and then you're like, "Oh, yeah, that is discrimination," or, "Oh, this is a different term of something that you're going through," and you're like, "I really didn't think about it that way." And it's frustrating, but also a learning opportunity because you don't learn about these things until you have to go through it, unfortunately. Do you know what I
Absolutely.
mean?
Absolutely.
And
People that refuse to get a ramp for their
yeah,
business, even though the ADA is 35 years old,
yeah,
those people don't realize what the message to me when I try to go patronize the establishment is my body is right and yours is wrong.
yeah,
That's what they're saying to me.
yeah.
You don't belong here.
Mhm.
And if they say something like, oh, we'll help you in, we'll carry you, my answer is, okay, well, first, my friend here is going to carry you in front of all these people, and everyone's going to watch. And if you think that's a dignified way to enter, then I'll go that way.
I love that.
And they just don't know what to do with that.
Yeah, yeah. Ugh, the things we have to go through. But
I'm used to it. I can handle it.
I know you're
And
tough as
I
nails.
also shock the hell out of people sometimes. Is it
I mean,
okay to say hell?
I guess so. Hell.
I won't make it any worse than that. I
Okay,
won't.
okay. Yeah. Um, but sometimes you do have to shock people because they don't get it until you walk them through it. And that's okay. I
Yes.
support that.
Thank you. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
that.
You're welcome. Okay, so that kind of leads into the conversation about travel and accessibility a little
Okay.
bit.
Okay.
So, what is it? You've been to almost 50 or have been to 50 United States?
So I've been to 49
49.
states, some business, some leisure travel, and
Mhm.
mhm.
How has traveling and dealing with inaccessibility, how has that worked with all of your travels?
So are you talking about international travel or
All
domestic
of it.
travel?
All of it. Wherever you would like to start.
Okay.
What is one that you remember, like, right off the top of your head? Let's start there.
As far as being inaccessible or accessible?
Let's start with inaccessible first.
Inaccessible. So within the United States,
Mhm.
spots in New Orleans and spots in Charleston, South Carolina, Alexandria, Virginia, um, even New York City had a couple that I ran into
Interesting.
that were not accessible.
Mhm.
Um, so sure you'd like me to elaborate, and I don't know which direction you want me to go. So if you
Any
could,
way you wanna go. Did you talk to the establishments or try to make them a little bit more accessible, or did you just wanna enjoy your trip? How did that look like for you?
so it depends on the situation.
Okay.
First of all, how do I get in and talk to them if it's not accessible?
Exactly.
So to give you an example, I lived in Richmond, Virginia for 2 years, all my life, and um, I sued several businesses that weren't accessible. And one of the owners, they did a newspaper article on it. One of the owners said, "Well, she didn't come in and talk to me about it." And I was said, "Well, how was I supposed to get in to talk to you about it?" So, y- you know, a lot of times, if I can't get in, I don't really have a choice but to file a Title III ADA lawsuit.
Mhm.
I can call them, but they're not going to change it. They're going to think that I'm just going to go away.
Yeah.
So you can start with advocacy, disability rights advocacy, which is normally where I start. Let's say that the parking is wrong,
Mhm.
or there's no accessible parking, or let's say the door pressure isn't ADA compliant. You're going to start there with advocacy, give them a chance to fix it. Another avenue in certain situations is this is within the United States, not without not that's a because with the ADA Department of Justice complaint, but they have a shortage. It's even worse right now of Department of Justice man slash woman power. They can't take on everything. They tend to take on bread and butter issues right now, like sheltered workshops. But So they're not gonna go after, accessible restaurant. They do look for patterns. That's another option though for well, I used them when a car rental agency in Huntsville, Alabama refused to put hand controls in a rental car. They said, "We just don't do that." I'm like, "Well, you have to. Title III." And so DOJ got involved. But another option is to file a lawsuit. And what I think a lot of people don't know is it doesn't cost the plaintiff a dime as long as it's a true ADA violation. And so the violator has to pay for their lawyer and your lawyer and then fix the problem. And under the ADA, um, when I've sued, I don't get any money, nor do I want any money. Sometimes a handful of states have additional laws that have even more teeth to the ADA, and so they receive monetary damages for discrimination, in addition to, I guess it's called injunctive relief. I'm not positive, but where they just have to fix the barrier. But even if I live in one of those states, I'm not. I want to be able to say I never got any money for it, but I don't think there was anything wrong with monetary damages. But yeah,
Right. I honestly have not been through that process, so I appreciate you describing that and explaining that it's at no cost because I think that's one of the biggest questions is can I even afford this? Is it even worth my time?
yes,
So,
and it depends on the situation.
mhm,
So there's been some abuse, and, in California pops in my head because there were some serial filers, is what they call them out there. People, I don't know if it's 5,000 or 6,000 a pop, but every business that you run into that's not accessible. So there was a couple people, I won't mention names, that they were just suing so many hundreds of places to make money. And we're talking about the mirrors 3 inches too high, and that's it. And so I would never, ever sue for something like that. It has to be significant.
right.
And once I see a significant barrier, usually being able to get in, and when there's that barrier, that means there's other ones. And so then there's an ADA inspection and 8 pages of small violations. And at that point, they can fix all of them. I usually give them a chance. Like,
Yeah,
hey, this is what needs to be done. And then sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't.
understandable.
Hmm.
People are unpredictable. Hmm. Um, with your certification for the ADA coordinator, do you go in and do those assessments in other cases? Maybe not your specific suits or anything like that, but do you go in and do those?
Right, not for my suits,
Mhm.
for obvious reasons, but
Yeah.
yes, I've been hired to do hotels, and the Army's had me do a couple places on base. Now they're not they're exempt because they're a federal entity from the ADA, but they have to follow the Architectural Barriers Act. Wait, ABA, so Architectural Barriers Act of 1968, and then of course 504 of the Rehab Act of 73. So they have me looking for, but the ABA and the ADA guidelines, specs for accessibility are almost identical.
Mm.
So what I would do for the government is make them lists. Hey, this is what's an ABA violation, like this is law, and then this is best practice, because best practices are different than legal matters, and kind of help them out with both. And so, yes, I have done some of that. I'm not a super meticulous, detailed person, so it's not my favorite thing to do.
Mhm.
So I haven't done a lot of it.
Hmm. That's interesting though that you can see almost like both sides of the table and you can work through that on a better level almost, I would say.
Right. I love it when people like want my help. Somebody in
Yeah.
my hometown the other day, a restaurant owner in St. Joe, um, she asked me to go to the bathroom and look and see if there's anything wrong.
Hmm.
She wanted to share with the landlord because I let her know that there was no accessible parking. And so she said she talked to the landlord about that. She wanted me to go in the bathroom and look around. She wanted me to look for other issues to help with. And I liked that.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you just have to get different viewpoints
Yeah,
and that's okay. Hmm.
absolutely.
So let me look over here. I don't want to be disrespectful, but let me look over here real quick because I wanted to see a little bit more. You and I had talked in previous conversations about some of the accommodations that were in place in different places. Did you want to touch about that a little bit?
The accommodations.
Like accessibility in different places that you've traveled. We were talking about the, oh gosh, the brick roads,
So cobblestone?
cobblestones.
Oh, so you wanna go international now?
Yes, let's do
Okay,
it. Let's do
okay,
it.
okay. So just, so that your listeners, um, know my perspective, I'll share that after I moved to well, first of all, I have a love of travel and had been several places because travel agents used to get big discounts.
I'm so
Um,
jealous
and
of that.
when mm, I moved to Germany and I'd already been to quite a few places, I don't remember how many, but probably like 8 countries or something. Well, anyway, um, I was reading an article, and he's now my friend, Corey Lee, the famous, super accessible, he's a rock star, accessible travel blogger. I was reading something on his site, and it said he had a goal to get to 30 countries by the time he turned 30. I'm like, this is cool. So I said to my husband, look, this guy wants to get to 30 countries by the time he turns 30. And he goes, you should do 50 by 50. So I did.
Yeah.
And I was able to do that because, um, like I said, they put us right smack in the middle of Germany, right smack in the middle of Europe, really.
Mhm.
And so I was able to add 35 countries in 3 years. And then more later, a few more later, when I just because it was priority to travel, I love to travel. So I got to the 6 continents. And the reason I'm sharing that is I do have a perspective of, kind of all over the place, not just Europe and the US. So, accommodations in other places, a lot of countries have manifestos. So, they'll have like a statement people with disabilities can't be discriminated against, and or they'll say, even they'll go further and say that places need to be accessible to people with disabilities, but there's no teeth. Like we have teeth to our laws where
Mhm.
there's consequences for discrimination and or for not being accessible depending on the situation. And so, it's not really enforced. And I don't know what France is up to these days, but that was the case back in 2004 when I was in France as an example. And I remember I was over there by myself. It was my first trip to Europe, and I went by myself. I'd been wheelchair user for 6 years, and I was out and about. And yes, the cobblestone was tough. You just deal with it. And I had to go to the bathroom. The wine. I had some wine. The wine's great. And I spotted a McDonald's. I'd been looking for an accessible bathroom, and I spotted McDonald's. I thought, oh, good, it's an American company. So I went over there, and there was a step to get in. And I thought, "Oh, okay." That was my first experience, and I've seen this many, many times. That means, I'm not gonna say all American companies, but generally speaking, at least some American companies are accessible in the United States because they have to be. They don't wanna be sued. Because when I see a McDonald's in Paris that has a step, that tells me since they don't have to be, they they aren't. They're not doing it because it's the right thing. These companies are doing it because they have to. And so there is a strong need for civil rights legislation that protects people with disabilities, obviously. But accommodations, um, accessibility in countries, different places varies greatly. For instance, in Estonia or Romania or Morocco, um, accessibility, it's tough.
Mm.
And there's places I needed help. And I wouldn't go to any of those 3 countries by myself unless it was a quick. Like if I was in Morocco, if I went to Casablanca on business and I planned it very, very carefully, um, something like that. But I wouldn't, travel around by myself. But then if you go, talking like Sydney, Australia, or Canada, obviously, um, someplace like the UK, which has something similar to our ADA, they modeled their DDA after our ADA in 1995, and then they renamed it the Equality Act. But they have something very similar to what we have. Um, so the UK has like a Title III equivalent or equivalent to our Title III. So It's gonna be more accessible there. Barcelona is accessible. It just depends where you are, and then accessibility is also different for everybody. Their needs are different, so that's actually a lengthy discussion in itself. So some people are more interested in, say, a power wheelchair user, for instance. They're gonna be worried about, are the buses accessible, are the subways accessible, because they can't throw the 300 or 400 pound wheelchair in a taxi or Uber like I can. So yeah, it's just there's just great variance. But the fact is, the ADA is the most comprehensive, far-reaching civil rights legislation in the world that protects people with disabilities. So I believe, because I've seen the laws, a lot of them, and because I've traveled a lot, that we are the most accessible country in the world. There's close to 200 countries, depend on which list you're looking at, um, as to what constitutes a nation. But I do believe this is the most accessible nation. And the people that complain constantly about accessibility in the US, I ask them if they have a passport,
Mm.
because I do appreciate there are always improvements to be made,
Yes,
but I'm not sure everybody realizes what we do have here.
I will agree with that. Yeah, because until you see other places and what they don't have, you don't appreciate what you do have.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I get that. Ugh, I don't know if I have the courage to do what you've done with travel. Um, while I have a great passion for it and I enjoy it when I'm there, I'm usually with somebody, family, friends, whatever, but I don't know if I have the confidence to do everything that you've done with it. So, I guess what would you say to somebody who struggles with that?
Well, does your particular disability allow you to travel solo?
Yes.
Okay, 'cause some people can't.
Yes.
Their disability doesn't allow them
I
to.
appreciate that
They may
question.
need help. I know you don't need help getting ready, but they may need help in the morning or something
Yes.
like that.
Yeah.
So I would say that it's very possible, with a lot of planning
Mm,
and researching and asking questions. And, for me, that means emailing hotels directly and
okay.
talking to other wheelchair users, or reading blog posts, although you do have to be careful on that, because once in a while, you'll run into a writer that they haven't even been there. They're just getting information online, or they'll put the
Yeah.
accessible things, but they won't put the inaccessible things that are, high tourist zones that aren't accessible. So, but and it's not going to be perfect. Things are going to go wrong, but if you plan, you can do it. And obviously, it's really going to vary because of culture
Mhm.
and disability rights laws. It depends on where you're going. For instance, I wouldn't go. I'm pretty gutsy, and I wouldn't go to Cambodia alone.
Okay.
But I would easily go to New Zealand alone. I've been there, and I wasn't alone, but I'd go. It just depends where you're going. So research, plan, and then eventually you just have to let go. And my first solo trip to Europe was, like I said, I was a wheelchair user by that time, was the most liberating week of my life,
Mm,
because getting through that and doing it yourself and realizing what you're capable of, I can't really fully describe it to you. And I know, I do remember the hotel staff. They didn't believe me that I was by myself,
mm.
because wheelchair users, I don't think, are quite as independent over there. I don't know. At the time, they weren't. And I said, "Yeah, I've been here a week. Do you see anybody around me?"
Right.
But I convinced them, but they were just surprised. And I said, "In the U.S., we all work and drive, or a lot of us work, not all of us, and drive and just carry on with life, and we're independent."
Mhm. Challenging the stigma,
Yeah, or the presumptions about our abilities, and there's all kinds
presumptions.
of. We can talk about that during the ableism part, but the
Yes.
presumptions about all kinds of things.
Mhm.
So,
It's interesting to see what people think.
oh yeah, they
Mhm.
assume um, that you don't have sex,
Yeah.
right? And they assume that, sometimes people assume that you're resource poor.
Mhm.
They make assumptions about your socioeconomic status, which is always interesting.
Frustrating.
And then, yeah, all kinds of things. We do that. We judge. It's human nature.
Yes.
And I'm always checking myself
Yes.
about being judgmental. You cannot make assumptions about people based on, one of their group memberships.
Right. Right.
And usually I'm talking about a stigmatized, marginalized group of some sort. But yeah,
Mhm.
we all have to be careful about that.
Yeah, and it's hard because our brains wanna put the puzzle pieces together, and sometimes those puzzle pieces aren't accurate.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh my goodness.
Humans are flawed.
Yeah. Gotta love it, though. I don't know, I understand that feeling of independence of doing something by yourself. Because when I wasn't using my cane, to travel, like, down the street, I was more just always looking at the ground. And now that I travel with my cane, I've been through the airport by myself. I've asked for help when I need it, and people see my cane and understand that I do need that help. And so it just allows you to be more present in your situation and enjoy the time that you're having instead of focusing on your disability.
Of course. And that you bring up a good point. And that's most people want to help. And obviously, you got to pay attention to the culture a little bit. So I mean, you
Mhm.
go to place someplace like Ireland, and they're going to really want to help make you feel included. The spirit of inclusion in Ireland is phenomenal.
Ugh.
So they are not quite as accessible as the U.S. They do really well with accessibility. I would certainly travel there alone, but the spirit of inclusion is much better than the U.S.
Mm.
It's fascinating some of the conversations I got in over there, and when I went up to Hertz, the rental car agency, they were mortified. They're like, and I went by myself up to the counter because my husband is not a people person, and he was out guarding the luggage, and they didn't see him. And when I checked out, got the car, the guy's like, nobody put hand controls in your car, and I said, oh no, you guys drive on the other side of the road. I've already done that once just to say I could do it. I'm not interested in doing that with the roundabout. So my husband's going to be driving. I didn't order hand controls. He goes, oh, what a relief. He was so worried that they forgot the hand controls. And
Oh,
I do not get that that in the US. And I've rented cars hundreds of times
right.
um, here. So I, yeah, I'm sorry. I got off topic
No, you're
probably.
fine. No, I love that because you don't always feel included in things here, like very basic things, and it's very frustrating, which is why I always tell people to find the groups that are similar to what you're dealing with because that's where you're really going to feel almost at home.
Right, right.
So,
Interestingly, I was at I think it was Tullamore Dew was the distillery in Ireland. It was one of the distilleries, and two of the people working the front, I complimented them because they had the low counter to check out,
yes.
and they said we just got in a big discussion about accessibility, and they said everything should be accessible, and one of them said, "Yeah, in high school we had to go downtown Dublin in wheelchairs. They had that was an assignment. They had to go
Yeah.
navigate and cobblestone, and I loved that. I got so
Yes.
many interesting conversations over there about that. So let me ask you, Haley,
Yeah.
what is your biggest fear? Like what holds you back from certain trips?
Being in a situation that I don't know how to handle.
Have you thought about what that might look like? Like a situation, like an example?
Um, if I'm in a place that doesn't have the same language as me, I know a lot of people are friendly with the English language, but maybe not so much everywhere. I would be very worried on like where I need to go. Is this safe? Because I can't see if a place is kind of safe or not. I don't know what that always looks like. Like I know like in my head, like, okay, this is what these signs mean, but I don't always see them as quickly as I might need to. And I don't know if I'll run into that. And maybe I don't go to the places that aren't as touristy. Maybe that's how I get that resolved. But I just don't know, like, if there's something coming down the street and I don't hear it because there's a lot of people, will I get out of the way in time and stuff like that. So I think if I were to travel a little bit more, I would start out with somebody and then build my confidence. But I have to find somebody who will take the time to travel with me and all that stuff.
That
So
makes sense. And that's a good
yeah.
idea to start with taking somebody. And I would start when you do go solo with the not just the English speaking countries, but countries that they speak uh, good English as a second language,
Yes.
and there's plenty of those. I wouldn't start. I loved Chile, but I wouldn't start with Chile if I were you. Only
No.
11. 11 to 13% of them speak English at all.
Really?
Yes. So but
See,
I do recommend it in like a group setting or
yeah,
with somebody that speaks Spanish.
yeah,
But yeah, that's what you'd want to do and start, go to countries if you can where you know that people are friendly.
yeah.
It
That's
really
what I'm
it
thinking.
matters, and they're gonna say something to keep
Hmm.
you out of that danger.
Yes, because I have to rely on other people in some situations. I can't do it just by myself at this point.
We're all that way.
Yeah.
We absolutely. I take a bunch of tipping money, and do you
Yes.
think I carry my luggage? I mean, I can sometimes. It depends on what I have with me, but
Hmm.
I'm not interested in having a shoulder injury or
Yes.
having something that's 100 pounds on my legs and it could break my leg or
Yeah.
the osteoporosis. So I'm going to go ahead and just ask somebody and then tip them. And then I mean, try to find somebody that works
Yeah.
at a hotel or whatever, or at the airport. But yeah, there's ways around it. You have to get creative
Yeah.
and there are ways around it. And you can do this for sure.
Yeah. I've gotten much better at being more independent with traveling, but there are sometimes I'm like, "Oh, I'm really glad my sister's here with me,"
Mhm.
Um, because you just fall back on the people that you have in your life, so but yeah, I have a big appetite for traveling. I can't help it. We traveled as a family when we were younger, and I think that's part of it, so I just
Yeah, they planted the seed. Your family
they
planted the seed. Mine
100%.
did that too.
Did
It
they?
was a priority. My parents wanted us to have a nice vacation every year.
Yeah.
So they saved, and I mean, they were young parents, and they
Mhm.
made it a priority. So every year I went somewhere cool, and so that probably gave me confidence to
Yeah.
travel when I'm little. And I just felt like that's just part of life,
Yeah.
and I think that makes a difference
Mhm.
when parents
And it
foster that.
and it sparks curiosity, like, there's more to the world than Kansas City, Missouri.
Absolutely,
Mhm.
I've learned just as much or more from travel as I have from my degrees.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, degrees aren't all of it,
you learn that, first of all, we're not perfect. We don't have everything figured out here, despite common misconception. Um, we have things to learn from other places.
Yes.
And also, I've learned that human beings in general, we're more the same than we are different.
That's interesting
We all
because
need to be,
Mhm.
we all need to feel connection with
Yes.
others. There's just some things that are universal and it's over 8 billion people that, just universal that, not, I mean, it's a spectrum, obviously,
Mhm.
some of these things, but basic human needs for the most part are the same, no
Okay.
matter where you are, whether you're
Mhm.
in South Sudan or Boston.
Mhm. Hmm. We all wanna fit in. We all need social connections.
Hmm. Yes.
Mm.
And family and friends are
Yeah.
important. That's what you want. And then, we're all going to find different coping mechanisms when we're in distress.
Yes.
And no matter where you are
Mhm.
in the world. And some people, have healthier coping mechanisms than others. They may go for a run or,
Yeah.
they may turn to um, spirituality or, whatever.
Mhm.
And then there's others that, do, um, other more unhealthy things. But
Mine is
we,
coffee.
as humans, oh, caffeine, don't get me started. Yeah, we were talking about energy drinks earlier and comparing our favorite flavors. So caffeine is one thing I refuse to give up. I gave up alcohol about a year and a half ago, and I'm not doing caffeine. I gave up walking and alcohol. That's enough. Um, so yeah,
I love that so much. Yeah. Wow. That's interesting. Okay, let me look at the questions here.
sure.
Okay, and if there's a question that you can see faster than me, please just tell me which one you want to address. I just really like talking and then using this as a backup.
Oh, I like
So
that
I
too. It's
appreciate your openness.
sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
let me look at this though. Oh yeah. Okay, you want to tell me about your 2024 Paris trip?
So 2004.
Oh,
Yeah, that was the
I
trip.
might be blind. I'm so
You're
sorry.
killing me. It's okay. No, 2024 is last year.
Yeah, I know. I
I
was
was
like,
like,
that does not sound right.
no, that
Okay.
was the one I was telling you about earlier.
Yes.
Yeah, 6 years after I sustained the spinal cord injury. Um, I, yeah, that was a week, and that was so important. It kind of taught me that I can still do anything, and met lots of interesting people. I was single at the time, and I went on some dates. It's different.
Mm,
Like, guys just didn't see a wheelchair over there at all.
really?
Yeah, that's actually an interesting, um, big long conversation. But yeah, I went on some dates, and
Hmm,
um, so that was just so much fun that week and seeing everything. And I had 4 years of French in high school, so I got to practice it. It's funny how it comes back to you when you learn it.
that's
When you
amazing.
you learn it young,
Okay.
because your brain,
Yeah.
absorbs it like a sponge. And now, if I try to learn language, I don't think that would go well. But
Mm,
so I went to Paris in '04, and then after I moved to Germany, I went for my 10th wedding anniversary in 2016. It was only a 3-hour train right away. And then when my girlfriend came over to visit from the States, we went again. I went again in 2017.
okay.
So been 3 times. And my point is that things changed between 2004 and then later on. And that was, it was kind of sad, but they have metal detectors at the Eiffel Tower now. And
Really?
yeah, that was kind of sad.
Mm,
And, but that took, and there was also more crimes. You have to be a little more careful in the tourist spots, but um, accessibility was a little better.
okay.
Not perfect, but uh,
Improving.
improving. And then, I spent about 8 weeks of my life in France because we lived literally 2 hours from the border. So it was just so easy to get over there. And yeah, that trip was incredible.
Mm, it sounds like it.
Hmm.
And if I understand correctly, you can get to many places because of like the trains.
So I didn't use the train on that trip. I used taxi because my wheelchair weighs 18 pounds.
Oh,
I used a taxi.
was the taxi ride expensive?
Um, I had planned and saved, and I was young, and I was eating, ramen noodles a couple times a week. Those were
Yes.
like 10 cents then. Yeah, I just saved my money, and I don't think it was real expensive, but like it wasn't cheap.
Mhm.
The
Mhm.
airport to the well, I only use the taxis from the airport to the hotel, and the hotel to the airport. So
Okay.
I chose a hotel that obviously had accessible rooms, but it was also close, very close to the Louvre and Notre Dame and some other places. I did have to get in a taxi now that I think about it, to go to the Eiffel Tower,
Mm.
but that was it.
I mean, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, and it was no big deal. And like I said, I speak basic French, which they appreciate
It's
that you trying.
amazing.
So,
I would not be fluent in that. I would not do
oh,
well.
I'm not fluent. I sound like a 3-year-old, but they appreciate the effort.
Okay. Yeah. No, I can understand that. Okay. Hmm. All right. Let me see here. We've talked a little bit about some of the questions I feel like naturally. Um. Oh yeah, you and I were talking earlier about the camel ride, but I don't remember where that was. Was that Morocco?
Yes, that was in the Sahara Desert in
Okay.
Morocco.
Tell me about this.
Yes, and there's an accessible travel agency in Morocco, and I actually got some help with them booking everything because, Morocco. I didn't know as far as hotels, and I booked a 10-day trip, and part of it was they had made an adapted saddle for so you could ride a camel, and they wanted to test it. So I was the first one,
Mm,
and that was absolutely incredible, but also scary because there's nothing to hold on to in the front. So I told them,
woo,
actually, interestingly, Corey Lee was coming, and they were worried about him. And I feel like they were just testing it out before he came, but it was a timing thing. They weren't really
mm,
doing that on purpose. But it was really fun, but yeah, a little scary. But I got to ride twice, and it was just, it's an exciting. You feel not limited when you're
yes.
doing those things. I always say, if I'm in air or in water, I don't feel paralyzed. Well, I also don't feel paralyzed when I'm doing stuff like that. So, like skydiving, I've done, and paragliding and things
Yes.
like that. I don't feel you know, any physical limitations whatsoever. Same with water, the
Mhm.
adapted scuba or the adapted surfing in Costa Rica
Mm.
and things like that. So, yeah, I loved that experience. So, yeah, it's possible to ride a camel in the Sahara Desert.
Mm.
And in
Uh,
Egypt, they have that now, accessible.
really?
Hmm.
Okay, so what makes the saddle accessible? How does that look like? Or what does that look like?
So,
Apologies.
everybody's, got different accessibility needs. So, I'm kind of a mid-level paraplegic. So, for your listeners that know what I'm talking about, a T6, so
Mhm.
paralyzed from the lower chest down. So,
Mhm.
I need a higher back. I have to have a back
Yes.
where if somebody that, didn't have a physical disability at all would just have a saddle with no back, right?
Mhm.
So, it actually has a back on it,
Okay.
is the main, I think that was the main difference.
But there was nothing to hold on to, which would have
Right,
significantly
and hopefully
helped your
they added
balance.
something. No, I was holding what was I holding on to?
Uh-oh.
I was holding on to
The camel?
no, that
Sorry.
no, that's okay. There was this little tiny part of the saddle that I was holding on to for dear life.
Oh.
Tiny, tiny part, down between my legs, yeah, so that was it.
Nice. Yeah, not awkward at all. I love that. Oh, but they took your suggestions and probably adapted it
I
a
think
little bit
so,
from
yes,
there?
yes, because they wanted to talk about it afterwards, and
Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
pretty sure.
wow.
Mhm.
What an adventure.
That was a special trip, and it was, so I think the statistic was 99% Muslim, so I had never been to a predominantly Muslim country, and
Right?
that was fascinating, and it's just a very unique trip, and it's
Yeah.
it's actually illegal to, criticize the king, their king.
Really?
Yes, and so, just learning so much from my tour guide. Anytime I'm anywhere that I ask the tour guide a million questions, I wanna know the stuff, like,
Everything.
what do people think of Americans here? And,
Yeah.
I want everything, politics, what's the tax bracket for, like, a teacher, police officer, like,
Mhm. Mhm.
I ask all kinds of questions, and, yeah, Anas, he was really helpful with all that, and, um, it was like I said, it was very unique, and, um, women are not treated quite the same way. I
Mhm.
loved Morocco, don't get me wrong,
Right.
but not treated the same way as they are, here. For instance, Anas was really confused of why I was the one handling the cash instead of my
Oh.
husband, and then that I was sitting in the front seat and not my husband.
Oh, yeah.
And
Okay.
yeah, it
Yeah.
was fascinating
Huh.
how some things like that. Hmm.
That would be really hard though too, because I'm sure that you were getting looked at and everybody was questioning, but maybe not asking you directly.
It
And
wasn't hard at all.
yeah.
I'm gonna be me, and if someone doesn't like it, too bad. I mean, I'm an American. They're happy. They can either take my money or not. If they don't
Right.
want me sitting in the front seat, then I don't know. I guess they have to lift me up and move me.
Yeah.
But no, it's just it was strange to them. It wasn't like I was breaking a law.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Saudi Arabia, you got to be more careful about these things. But
Mhm. Mhm. Interesting. Huh. It's hard because a lot of that is also kind of communicated like visually, and I think that I would accidentally offend somebody, and so I would always use my cane in those situations because I can't see all the social cues. Like, for example, I cannot see your face from here. It just is blurry, so I can't see those cues, and I think that would be difficult too because I don't ever wanna be rude to somebody by accident. Like, that's not my nature to be rude in general,
of course, I
but
don't think you have anything to worry about because you're
eh,
very pleasant and polite. We've talked a couple times before
yeah.
this. And if someone's giving you a dirty look because you're handling in money instead of the man you're with, that would be their problem. You don't have to worry about offending them and handing
Yeah.
the money to the man. I mean, I wouldn't
Yeah.
worry at
Just
all. It's
do what you gotta
you don't
do.
want to embrace sexism at all. So
Yeah.
or misogyny, and that actually happened. That's happened in other countries where people are they're confused when I go and pay with a credit card at the hotel or
Mhm.
whatever, and my husband is standing far away. They're
Yeah.
just don't know what to do with that. I
Right.
don't. And I'm always. Is it the wheelchair or my gender?
Yeah.
And it's I guess intersectionality. Maybe it's a little both.
Mhm.
I don't know,
Yeah.
but it's fascinating to kind of get them perplexed.
Yeah. I understand that. You gotta challenge the thoughts.
Absolutely. It's
Mhm.
a learning experience for them, right?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay, what questions are you thinking that we've already done? Because I'm catching up with questions, but maybe we can figure that out on an ad break. Would that be okay with you?
Yes,
Let me get some catch up
absolutely.
on the questions and then we'll just keep talking.
Okay.
All right. All right, everyone. We will be right back. Thank you so much.
Living with a disability can feel isolating, but it doesn't have to. At The Whole Person, peer support groups bring people together who truly understand. The Whole Person provides a variety of peer support groups. Brain injury group, share experiences and navigate life after your injury. Mental health group, connect with others managing anxiety, depression, and other mental health challenges. DIY life skills, build confidence and skills for independence, designed for ages 18 to 24. In addition to these, we offer specific groups for spinal cord injuries, blindness and low vision, and deaf and hard of hearing. Whatever your journey, you're not alone. To find your group and attend our next meeting, please visit thewholeperson.org/peer support or call us at 816-561-0304. Peer support at The Whole Person. Real people, real connection.
All right, everyone, we are back from our break and we are going to talk a little bit more about what advice could be given when you're traveling and kind of like how to start and how to, because that's a big topic to kind of research before you go somewhere. So let's just break it down a little bit and go from there. Would that be all right with you?
Absolutely.
Okay. I see you got your colorful drink.
This looks like Windex. It's water, and somehow these cups make it look blue.
Yes. So whenever liquid goes in those cups, it changes colors.
It tastes
So,
like water, but it looks like it's gonna taste like something else. Yeah, so fun.
well, hopefully it'll be refreshing.
It's good. I need the water. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so how do you start researching? Like, when a task is so big and overwhelming, you kind of just don't do it at first.
Mhm.
Does that happen to you?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
I was
yes.
like, I
I'm
can't be the only one.
I'm the queen of procrastinating.
Yeah.
So, but once you dive into it, momentum starts, and then action creates more action,
Hmm.
right? So, um, if I was to, let's just say that I didn't know, I didn't really know anything about accessibility in the United States, cities. Um, I would Google. Let's say I want. First of all, I'll just say that places like Washington D.C., Orlando, Las Vegas, like high tourist zones, are going to be more accessible in general. Um, but I would Google accessible Denver, accessibility Denver, something like that. I was wanting to go to Colorado, and I would, and if you want to go nearby, and you know that Estes Park is one of the parks nearby, you can Google accessibility Estes Park. All kinds of stuff's going to pop up so that you can read about the accessibility in that place.
Okay.
Now, you don't have to worry quite as much because of our plethora of, disability rights laws in the United States, as far as huge fiascos. Um, with, but they're still can happen. But you starting there and reading about it is what I would do before I hopped on the airline's website and start looking at airfares and all that. And obviously, I can only speak as a wheelchair user, but it would work certainly with most other types of disabilities as well, not all of them. But you're going to want to try not to have a connecting flight. One flight's best. It's one flight's best
Yes.
for everyone because that's less chance of misconnecting, missing the other flight because the first one's delayed or lost luggage and so on.
Hmm.
So there's that. But then it's a balance because you have to look at cost. But before you jump on the airline's website, um, I my biggest piece of advice is to know your rights. So the Air Carrier Access Act of was it 1988? Nin- Oh, we're 1986. 1986. Okay, so it wasn't 88. I think it was 86. It was definitely in the 80s. Print that off. That's our, travel related law that protects people with disabilities
Okay.
in air travel. Air travel.
Okay.
Um, so airlines don't follow the ADA; they follow the ACAA. But if you print it off, it's 40 pages. Yeah, and so you print off the EU's equivalent,
Mhm.
Europe's equivalent. It's 10 pages. So it's different.
Yeah.
They don't have. But anyway, I would learn my rights
Mhm.
first. If an aircraft, for instance, has over 100 seats, you have the legal right, if your wheelchair fits in the mandated size closet, to have your wheelchair in the cabin. So I always insist on it. It's not an option because I know it fits on the right the right size, and I don't want to give the wrong measurements. Um, it's like 12 by 36 by 42, something close to that. But if an airline chooses not to have the right size closet, per the ACAA, they have to seat strap up to 2 manual wheelchairs. Obviously, this
Mm.
is gonna work for power chair, but that's an example. People don't know that. People don't know that you have the legal right in the United States to pre-board, to get on first.
Yes, I did know that.
Yeah, well, you do, but
Yeah.
a lot of people don't know it's a legal right. It's not best practice.
Yeah.
It's actually a legal right.
Yeah.
And so, like, in Europe, it's best practice.
Okay.
Okay, so you can insist on it.
Mm.
It's not optional. I've had to let gate agents know that before.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, all kinds of rights in that particular law. So I would learn them. I have to quote it once in a while, and or ask for the CRO, the client resolution officer on duty. Let's just say that the flight attendant won't let me put my wheelchair in the cabin
Mm.
instead of the belly of the plane with the luggage. I'll ask for the CORO on duty, which there has to be one for every
Okay.
single flight.
I did not know this.
Client resolution officer.
Okay.
And then the CRO comes, and then you start. It's funny how that law comes back to you, and you can just start whipping it out. It just comes out of your mouth when you need it to.
Yes.
And then if the CRO was like, "Go get your supervisor," and it becomes a big ordeal.
Mhm.
But anyway, there's that's knowing your rights is a biggie, and
Mhm.
obviously Title III of the ADA applies when we're talking about car rentals, hotels, public accommodations, things like theaters and stadiums,
Mhm.
amusement parks. So knowing Title III well, and obviously you're not going to know all the specs. The ADA standards of 2010. That's the last time the specs have been rewritten. That book is so thick; it's over 200 pages. So you can't know, how many inches does that grab bar have to be away from the floor and the accessible stall and all that. But knowing your rights is so important. And like I said before, planning, just lots of planning. So some people have bed height issues. Some people need a high bed so that their Hoyer lift can fit under the bed. Some people, or they need assistance getting on the bed, and the person helping them needs the higher bed. For me and most other people that are manual wheelchair users, not all, they need a lower bed. So what's ideal for me is 22 to 25 inches, right?
Okay.
So if I don't do this very often. I don't know that I've ever done it, but if I'm staying somewhere a long time, it'd probably be a good idea to find out is the bed's really high. When I get there, I just use a sliding board and get on a high bed if I have to. But if I'm staying a long time, it's not safe for me to have a high bed. So I will ask the front desk, and I'll take a look at the box springs and the frame with the bottom part of the frame. I don't know what that's called. I forget what that's called.
Yeah.
The thing
Yeah.
underneath the frame. I'll decide looking at the top part of the mattress, and then I will call the front desk and ask them to pull out one or the other, make it low, and they do. They always do.
Hmm.
They always do. They make because the ADA doesn't cover bed height. Covers
Really?
how high the thermostat is. It covers the bathroom, the
Not the
toilet, but
bed.
not bed heights.
That is
And so
interesting.
that causes some interesting conversations because people have different needs.
Yeah,
But they
absolutely.
come and do that, and I've had that done a few times.
Hmm.
And I've had that done because I've fallen twice.
Hmm.
Um, once in Tampa, once in 29 Palms, California. The bed was too high. So, yeah, I do that as I'm a little older. I do that. So there's that. Hand controls. You have the legal right to have hand controls put in um, rental cars, and that varies as far as how much notice you have to give them. Varies by airport. So court precedent, a lot of the car rental agencies have been sued at one time or another, most of them in the 90s. court precedent. When you look at it, um, what's been decided is 8 hours for the very large airports, 24 for medium size, and 48 it goes on to 72 hours notice for smaller locations. I always try to do a week or two,
Mhm.
obviously,
Mhm.
do as much as you can notice.
Yeah.
A friend of mine who's a quadriplegic, he's the power chair. He said the ADA was written for paraplegics because it's not really fair that the car agencies don't have to have, a van with a ramp and the hand control. They don't have to. So, I mean, I can hop in a rental car, but people with power chairs can't,
Absolutely. It's interesting though what is acceptable and isn't in some places.
right? And there's, it's interesting because I rented a car in New Zealand and had hand controls put in it. Drove 17 miles on they don't like to say the wrong side of the road, the other side of the road. And okay, I'm done with that. Just needed to say I did it. Roundabouts and driving on the other side doesn't work. So, anyway, some other countries have um, car agencies that do hand controls as well.
Mm.
Most don't, but a few do. So anyway, knowing that you have the right to have hand controls put in and make sure and tell them what kind of car you need. Because
Mm.
once in a while they'll go, "We upgraded you to an Escalade," and I'm like, "Oh no," because I went through it with them twice on the phone. It has to be a car like a coupe or a sedan for me. I can't get into a
Yeah, it's
truck or an
higher.
SUV or even a crossover. I can
What
get
do you
out, I
mean?
can't get in. So they'll have to change it out and so once in a while. And
Mm.
when you get there, if the hand controls aren't done, I mean, this is what happened to me in December. As an example, it's happened before. I'll say, okay, which one of you's driving me to Chattanooga? And I flew into Atlanta. It's like an hour and a half away. And then which one of you's delivering my car with hand controls tomorrow morning to Chattanooga? So of course nobody wanted to do that. And they brought somebody on a Sunday and put them in.
Ooh.
Well,
Yeah.
I waited 3 hours.
Yeah.
Mm.
Huh.
Wouldn't have been able to do that if I didn't have the legal right
Right.
to have the hand controls. So I don't know that everybody knows that.
I did not.
When you book a hotel in the United States, accessible hotel rooms have to be in the inventory online.
Okay.
So that's what I do is book them online.
Okay.
It's a good idea. I always do this to call that day in the middle of the day. And sometimes I'll ask for the supervisor on duty. Depends on how much I trust the hotel. And
Mhm.
I'll ask to be pre blocked into an accessible room and they'll pull up my reservation and go, oh, yeah, we've got that. We got that. Just making sure they don't give my accessible room away if I'm arriving late,
Okay.
because that's happened a couple times. You don't want to have to sleep in a room that's not accessible. I had that happen in Jacksonville, Florida about a year ago. And the front desk clerk, I said, I called. Not only did I book the accessible room, I called and remind you, they're like, well, it's not clean. And I'm like, but why did you say it'd be ready? And he's like, well, what do you want me to do? And I'm like, what do I do? And I said, well, this is what's going to happen. Going to put me in a non accessible room tonight where I'll sleep and not get a shower. And tonight's going to be free.
Mhm.
And then you clean the accessible room and I'll check in that tomorrow. That's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. And so, because it's no different than a person walking in, checking into a regular room that's not accessible, and him saying, we have a room, but it doesn't have a toilet and a shower for you.
Mhm.
Because that's what he's saying to me when he said, we give away we don't have your accessible room ready.
Yeah.
I'm no toilet and no shower for you
Mm.
because I can't use the toilet or the
Yeah.
shower without it being an accessible room. So calling that day is a good idea.
Okay.
And then researching as far as trains and subways, because like in Chicago and New York, not all the stops are accessible. There's that information is online in the US. So that's also something to do. And then almost all the Amtrak stops are accessible. They're still working on that. I mean, well over 90% of them.
Mm.
So that information is also online. So yeah, it's all about research and reading travel blogs from accessible travel bloggers and things like that.
Mhm.
Knowing your rights is the biggie,
Yeah.
and not being able, not being afraid to speak up if there's an ADA violation or any type of discrimination.
Mhm. You have to get comfortable with that before you travel, I would almost say, because you're not gonna do it before, you travel or when you're in the
Right,
middle of it.
right. And you have to speak with confidence
Mhm.
and know the rights about the laws. It is not acceptable to break that civil rights law. So,
Mhm.
in getting that in your mind that you deserve
Mhm.
to have equal access in society. Some people have to deal with internalized ableism because of what they've learned from society, what society has taught them through ableist microaggressions. They're everywhere. They're in movies. They're all over. They're at the
Everywhere.
grocery store. So they feel like lesser thans, even though they're not. So they'll be afraid to speak up.
Mhm.
So it's combating that internalized ableism sometimes and realizing you have rights. I mean, Haley, think about it. Civil Rights Act of 1964. 35 years later, let's see, 74, 84, 94. So is what, 1999? I'm not good at math. Help me.
Uh,
So in
I'm
19,
a millennial, I don't know that.
I'm a Gen Xer and I'm not good at math.
But
But
yes.
anyway, it's a brain chemistry thing for me. But in 1999, so let's say 35 years post Civil Rights Act of 64,
Mhm,
because I'm talking 35 years post
mhm.
88s right now. Wouldn't it be okay to say to a business owner, you have to take your whites only sign down?
You would think so.
You would hope somebody who wasn't white would not have internalized racism and think they're lesser than and would speak up and say, you have to take that down. We're 35 years post, or you can't have separate water fountains. I know it costs money to take that other water fountain out,
Mhm,
just like it does cost money sometimes to make your business ADA compliant.
mhm.
So it's got to look at it that way. But in
Yeah.
this country, you have the legal right to participate fully in society.
Mhm.
That includes travel.
Yeah. And, you gotta be comfortable advocating for yourself, but doing it in a way that's not rude. Like, yes, you do have to be more firm in some situations, but you gotta speak up and you gotta be able to connect with that person so that they will understand. So,
Yeah,
right?
I always start out nice.
Yes, I start out
I
nice
start
too.
as nice as possible.
And then if things have to escalate, you have to be
Well, if
comfortable
they
with that.
escalate, I mean, I ask for supervisor or their manager or,
Same.
but yeah, I start nice and,
Mhm.
it almost never gets too out of control. But
Yeah, it can though.
yeah, and then I end up with lots of free frequent flyer miles or upgrades to first class or all kinds of
All
things.
the things.
Because what happens is later I do tell somebody, well, an airline, left me. The aisle chair folks didn't come and get me for over 30 minutes,
Oh.
3 times on one trip, 4 flight segments, three of the flight segments. So I filed 3 Department of Transportation complaints
Mhm.
because that's who enforces the ACAA and
Mhm.
that, that sort of thing.
Mhm.
You end up getting
Yeah.
reporting things afterwards.
Yeah.
And then sometimes there's consequences. Often there's consequences.
Mhm. So would it be okay to say if people needed advice or anything, they could reach out to you about where to start, maybe if they're just too overwhelmed?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
People do that pretty frequently.
Yeah, I thought they did.
So, yeah, hotels in Barcelona, I get all kinds of things.
I love that.
And I'm happy to help. And, that's just something I do because I want to. So, Kelly, Kelly, at kellynarowski.com.
Mhm.
Maybe you can put that in
Yeah.
the notes under the
We
podcast
absolutely will
too.
share that
Mhm.
as well as your website, because there's a lot of good information there.
Okay.
Um,
And on Instagram, I'm Kelly Narowski Speaks.
yeah,
I mean, I'm not super active on there, but it's a
that's
way to
okay.
get a hold of me. So,
Well, and any pictures you have of traveling, we would love to share that as well.
oh, okay. I
Yeah,
will send you some. I think I have quite a few on my
I love this.
there's 36,000 pictures on my phone.
Oh my
A lot
gosh,
of them are from living in Europe. So,
that's amazing.
mm,
Well, I appreciate the time that you've taken. I've gotten so much information from you. This has just been amazing. So thank you so
thank you
much.
for having me. I love talking about this stuff.
Oh,
So I
me
appreciate
too.
it.
Love it. Okay. Well, we are going to end our session today and then we'll hop into our next conversation. All right.
Okay.
All
Thank you so
right.
much, Haley.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Hi, everyone. My name is Haley Korf. I am the vision impaired host for the whole podcast. If you want to like and subscribe, that would be most helpful. We would love it. We just want to get our information out to the community so we can provide support to anyone who needs it. If you want to take a look at our calendar, we do have that on our website. That will show all the peer support groups that we offer. You are more than welcome to give us a call too. We would be more than happy to answer any questions, but it is all listed on the calendar. Take a look at it, enjoy our new website, and thank you so much for tuning in.